Welcome to a special podcast of Wrestling Superstar Shakeup thoughts and predictions. Essentially, maybe not predictions, but just some thoughts of what I like to see happen in the Superstar Shakeup this year. I think one of the big things here is that kind of gotten to the point where we have seen the same matches over and over. I think one of the big problems with the brand split is that there's no depth behind your guys. So we would get the Usos and New Day over and over. And look, I could watch those matches every day. Usos, New Day, no problem. I can watch their matches all day. I think you need to put the Usos and the New Day in a one-on-one or a two-on-two tag team by themselves. No intervening with Harper and Rowan. I think you've got to at least put them in a spotlight by themselves on a WrestleMania card. You know, they've done so much on these other pay-per-views. They sold a show at last year's SummerSlam pre-show. Nonetheless, we do get the same matches over and over, but I think it's time to kind of freshen things up again. As Vince would say, it's time to shake things up again. And there is a rumored draft or shakeup that is going to be coming up at, I think, the first pay-per-view after WrestleMania. I think it's either later this month or next month in May. But anyway, how I came up with this was simple. We've had only one Superstar Shakeup throughout the entire brand split. What I would like to see is superstars that have not been on certain shows go to a new show. So if you've been on Raw the entire time, you've never been on SmackDown, you go to SmackDown. If you've been on SmackDown the whole time, you can now go to Raw. So now you give the superstars kind of a taste of both shows, being on both shows, and especially now with Brock Lesnar rumored to be leaving with the Universal title now kind of going to be there every week with Roman. And yeah, it's coming. We all know it's coming Sunday. So which is why I'm confident in saying that Roman Reigns will need a fresh boat of challengers for the Universal title after WrestleMania. So I've compiled a list here of guys and the gals of who I would like to see switch places in the Superstar Shakeup. And Triple H last year even hinted at Raw and SmackDown guys moving to NXT. I will account for that as well. My Superstar Shakeup thoughts and what I would do if I was in charge of the Shakeup in 2018. So, number one, I just mentioned the Usos earlier. Move the Usos to Monday Night Raw in exchange for the Bar. Because if you saw the shakeup last year, they were basically just trading away superstars. Basically, it was, well, the Intercontinental Champion goes to Raw, the U.S. Champion went to SmackDown. So they were just doing trades. So that's basically how this is formatted. So the Bar goes to SmackDown Live. The Usos come to Monday Night Raw. I think that is going to be big. I think that would be a welcome change. The Usos have done everything that they can do on SmackDown. The Bar has done everything they can do on Raw. Let's switch them. Let's get some fresh matches on Raw and SmackDown. Number two, I think this is probably the most predictable one. I think a lot of people are seeing this one as an easy one. But again, it could change if, for some reason, Seth Rollins wins the Intercontinental title. Seth Rollins to SmackDown Live and AJ to Monday Night Raw. AJ has been on SmackDown since the start of this brand split. Seth Rollins has been on Raw since the start of the brand split. I think you trade them off. That's a good trade-off. And I think from that point, I think both men will have kind of new matches with new guys on each show. You could put Seth against Shinsuke Nakamura. You could have Seth out there against Bobby Roode. Then again, I'll get to that in a minute. So there's a lot of things you could do with Seth here, I think, on SmackDown. Maybe you turn him heel against Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe you have Seth go heel and you set up a good challenger for Nakamura, and you let Seth and Nakamura tear the house down. Number 3, now I did say Bobby Roode, but this one kind of contradicts it because The Miz goes back to SmackDown Live, Bobby Roode comes to Raw. The thing is here, the WWE really screwed The Miz over. I think a lot of people would agree that The Miz should have been the one in the spotlight that Jinder Mahal had last year as the most forgettable WWE champion in history. As to The Miz was the most must-see Intercontinental Champion in WWE history. I think you switch him off, put Miz back over on SmackDown Live. He's another challenger for Shinsuke Nakamura. Imagine if The Miz wins Money in the Bank again. And imagine the heat The Miz could get by cashing in on Nakamura and being the one to end his reign. Just the heat The Miz could get off of that alone would be incredible. Bobby Roode to Raw, I think we've seen a lot of what Bobby Roode can do. I think now you send him to Raw, and you let him, and I think when you send him to Raw, you have to turn him heel. You know, he's a face, but again, you turn him heel. That way, Raw doesn't lose a heel in The Miz, but they also gain a heel in Bobby Roode. Number 4, The Revival. This was a pretty big call-up last year. They kind of had a lot of injuries that derailed them, and I think at this point, Raw is kind of a dead point for them. So I think them going to SmackDown Live would be a fresh start for them, and they can compete for the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles. Move Harper and Rowan to Raw. Now, I don't know what the plans are for this Sunday. I don't think Harper and Rowan will win, but I could see them moving them to Raw. Maybe if you want to put them back together with Bray Wyatt even. You have Braun over there. But I think you could put the Wyatt family kind of back together in a way. You know, you have the club over there now. If AJ goes to Raw, you have Finn Balor, you have Gallows Anderson, so now you could do a club and Wyatt family feud. I think that would be kind of neat to see there. Number 5, big cast to SmackDown Live, Baron Corbin to Monday Night Raw. Take 2 big men, swap them out. Big Cass is going to need a fresh start coming off an injury. You could easily put him in the U.S. title picture, depending on who wins this Sunday. If it's Randy Orton still, and Orton's a face, Cass can attack Orton. Cass can win the U.S. title from Randy Orton at some point. If they kept him on Raw, he could be a good opponent for whoever wins the Intercontinental title. But so would Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, you could easily move him into the Intercontinental title picture against Finn Balor. Even though I'll get to that in a minute, because I have a better idea for the Intercontinental title. But I think you just trade the 2 big men off. I think that would be good for both men there. Baron Corbin Raw, Cass to SmackDown Live. I think that would give both men a fresh start. Again, both men have been on their respective shows since the start of the brand split. Looking ahead at the women superstars here. So, essentially, the first one, I think this is guaranteed in a way. Because I think what will happen here is, obviously, I think Asuka will beat Charlotte on Sunday. And then, that would mean Asuka is now a SmackDown superstar because she's carrying the SmackDown Women's Championship. So I think here, you send Charlotte to Raw. So it's essentially you're trading them off. Number 2 here, one that I definitely like to see is you trade off the 4 horsewomen here. Sasha Banks to SmackDown. Becky Lynch goes to Raw. Sasha and Becky have both been on their shows also since the start of the brand split. They both need to change a fresh change of scenery. Now, I love what they're doing with Sasha and Bayley, and I think you could actually, and I'll get to Bayley here in a bit, but I think you could carry that over to SmackDown. Becky Lynch to Raw, and for Sasha, you could have her turn heel. And I think also, when you look back at that match that Sasha and Asuka had on Raw, I think that's your money match on SmackDown for SummerSlam. Because if the rumored plan for next year is Ronda Rousey versus Asuka for Mania, then you've got to have Sasha versus Asuka for SummerSlam. And I would even go as far as saying having Sasha in a heelish way be the one to end the streak at SummerSlam against Asuka and take the SmackDown Live Women's title from Asuka. And you could have Asuka get the title back in time before WrestleMania, or you could even just have Ronda against Asuka, kind of in a Raw versus SmackDown thing without the title on the line. So that would actually be good, which would then set up maybe a Bayley versus Sasha at WrestleMania. And I'll get to that here. Bayley to SmackDown Live. Naomi to Monday Night Raw is the trade-off there. Let's keep Naomi with her husband, and that way they can keep traveling together and make some fun, entertaining ride-along. I wish that show was longer. Does anybody else wish ride-along was a lot longer? Bayley to SmackDown Live. Bayley also has been on Raw since the beginning. Naomi, same thing there. So now you're just kind of trading faces there in this case. Mickie James, she was on SmackDown Live, but I think for this next one here, I'm going to send her back to SmackDown, but I want to send Natty to Raw. So trade off the two veterans there. Now, number 5. Now, this is a little preview of the 5 swerves that the WWE could pull in WrestleMania. Number 5, Carmella to Monday Night Raw via cash-in. Imagine this. Nia Jax beats Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Mickie James is upset. She tries to attack Nia. It doesn't work. Nia fends her off, but then Carmella comes out, cashes in, and takes the title from Nia Jax just minutes after she had just beaten Alexa Bliss. Moving Carmella to Raw. Plus, you have kind of a built-in feud right there with Carmella and Nia Jax coming off of Mania, because you do not want to keep repeating this whole Nia and Alexa Bliss thing. So I think that would be a good trade-off, with Carmella cashing in and going to Raw by cashing in and winning the Raw Women's title from Nia Jax on Sunday. Those are my Raw and SmackDown trade-off thoughts and predictions. There, what I would like to see happen. Stay tuned for part 2. As in part 2, I will talk about the superstars that I think should come up from NXT and which show I think they belong on. And I will also discuss which Raw and SmackDown superstars I think could go to NXT. Triple H hinted at it back in December, saying, hey, NXT is essentially the third brand. We could see some Raw and SmackDown guys go to NXT. And I'll give you some thoughts and predictions on who I would send down from, or I guess, promotion? Get a promoted to NXT? I mean, I guess that's how most fans would look at it. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my predictions and thoughts on who you would send from Raw and SmackDown and vice versa. Let me know in the comments below. I've been your host, Money Mike. Stay tuned for part 2 later on today, sometime in the afternoon when I get off from work. This will be posted in the morning before I leave for work. So part 2 on NXT Callups and Raw and SmackDown Superstars coming to NXT will be in sometime in the evening, about a little bit after 6. Subscribe for more of the podcast of wrestling, and I will have another bonus video of the Front 7 podcast discussing the Rams going all in by trading for Brandon Cooks. My thoughts on the Patriots possibly trading up to get Tom Brady's successor. I've been your host, Money Mike, and I'll see you later on tonight with my NXT Superstar Shakeup predictions.